Hey everyone, this is Ian from iNFOTV and welcome back to AVI, the show where I talk about AV. Now, today we're going to be talking about how to get Instagram famous, or more technically, how to shoot great shots with just using a smartphone, whether it be an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy. Now, it doesn't take a proper professional photographer to take some really good shots with your phone. There is a few things you need to keep in mind though, as a professional would, to make your shots as best as possible. The first technique to have in mind is framing. Examples like the rule of thirds, dividing up your screen into 3 parts and having all pieces line up against those, is one of the most important things you can do while taking a picture. It makes sure that everything's in the frame and that your eye is properly drawn to the most important parts of the picture itself. Now, the second technique to keep in mind is lighting. You'll always want the light to be behind you as a photographer and hitting your subject as perfectly as possible. Obviously, there's some exceptions of this. Say you want a very backlit target to show the outline of something rather than the actual details in the front of it. That's more for artistic, but we'll get to artistic later. Another technique to keep in mind is to move closer to something rather than relying on a zoom. On a smartphone, the zoom is digital zoom, so you are losing quality as you're zooming in. It's easier to just get up close to a target and make sure you have the higher quality and closer shot you want. This can't be achieved in all cases, obviously, such as a lion at the zoo or the moon, but obviously there's a few cases where you can. Now, one of the things you can do to help get control over your pictures and make sure you're getting the best quality possible is to get an app, which there's many of, that'll help you control both the aperture and the ISO of your camera, as well as other features about it. Now, you can't control the shutter speed, which is an important part of taking a picture, but it's one of the things that we have to do without by just using a mobile phone. An app I found, which is free to use, is one called Shutter, which is ironic. As I said before, there is no shutter speed on a phone. So the title's a little misleading, but it is a great app. It lets you control the ISO, lets you turn on flash and program it, and take pictures in its own way to make sure that you have full control over everything on your phone. Now, there are other apps like this, some being paid, some being free, some having built-in filters, some not. There's a million to choose from. I just chose this one because it was the best reviews I found for a free one. There's a lot better ones that are paid though, anywhere from $2, $1, all the way up to even $10 for some of the apps. Now, if you are willing to spend money on taking pictures and not just relying on, say, a free app as well as your own techniques, there's a few things that can help you get started along the way without breaking the bank. As we mentioned in a previous review, you can actually get Gorilla tripods, which are malleable and can attach to things for your phone, as well as remote shutters, so that way you can activate it remotely and take the picture with, say, you in it and not have someone hold it, and not buy a $200 tripod for it, and not have to use a damn selfie stick. If you do want to go one step higher though, especially with if you are thinking about using video, there's 2 products you can get which definitely help us out. Many companies make clip-on lenses for your phone, especially for iPhones, just because they are the most popular and most willing to spend money, like me. Now, what these do is it can change what type of camera lens your phone has. By putting another lens and a more glass over it, it can turn it into a wider angle, such as a fisheye lens, like you would see on a GoPro or any action cam. You can turn it into a more macro or telescopic lens, very tight, very zoomed in, with very high detail and focus. Or you can even just do anything in between with a little bit wider than normal, a little bit tighter than normal. There are many possibilities for it, and a lot of companies do sell them in packs with a lot in there, with 5-in-1, 3-in-1, 2-in-1. Just go to Amazon.com and search mobile phone camera lens and you'll have a million results. Don't take that literally. For a little bit more expensive of an option, we did talk about in a previous video about the DJI Osmo Plus, which was a stabilized camera that I have. DJI does make a special version of the Osmo called the Osmo Mobile. Sadly, not calling it the Osmobile, which would be hilarious, but it is the Osmo stabilizer that can fit a phone onto it instead of a normal camera. It's a lot cheaper. It's about $300 or so, depending if you get it used and depending which version and what accessories and what pack you get with it. But one of the most important things is it is a stable shot for video with your phone rather than trying to hold it with yourself and just fumbling a bit and having a lot of shake to it. iPhone does reduce a lot of its camera movement by your own hands and stabilizes it just a bit, but this is something that keeps it perfectly stable throughout all the shots. Lastly, a few tips to keep in mind just to help out, to make it easier for yourself and to just ensure that you're getting the best shots is, One, take as many pictures as possible. In the span of a second, things can change so much in your shot, whether it be the lighting or movement. So while you're thinking you have the perfect shot, a millisecond later could have been even better with the lighting. Something could have reflected perfectly. You could have seen someone's soul in their eyes as you're taking a portrait. Another few tips are, for one, if you're taking a shot of a person, you don't want to cut somebody off at the joints. And if you use proper framing, medium shots, wide shots, close-ups, then you shouldn't be cutting away at anyone's joints because it looks awkward on the camera and it messes with movement a lot of the time because it just messes with the brain. And lastly, one recommendation I have is always keep up to date with various blogs or various books that'll help you take pictures in the future and teach you different techniques. Some places I can recommend would be Premium Beat blog. Premium Beat is a store that sells stock music and stock images for videography use and photo use. But they have their own blog where they always keep up with whatever's happening in the industry, new technologies, new free assets to use. Always try to keep up and keep learning. That's the main thing about photography and videography, where it's always changing and you always have to stay on top of it and do your best. I hope you found this video helpful and enjoyed it. If you're looking for more helpful videos and some fun things, check out iNFOTV, subscribe if you want, leave a like down below even, or comment down below if you have any questions or have any recommendations that you know of how to get great camera shots with a phone. This has been Ian with iNFOTV, and that brings a conclusion to this episode of AVI.